Hello there my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars video. It is I coming at you once again, your friend and your favourite galactic hostess, Star Wars Meg, and today we just got the second trailer for Maul Shadow Lord. I really wasn't expecting a second trailer so soon, but with the show now just 3 weeks away, I suppose it makes sense. And they gave us a brand new look at some of the Inquisitors, the 11th brother, Marok, the situation with the underworld and the cops on Janix, Maul himself, and the Jedi Padawan Devon Izara. And the biggest takeaway from this trailer is that the show is going to have so much action. Recently with Andor and Skeleton Crew, fans have been saying there's been a lack of lightsabers, but that's going to change in 2026. Not just with Ahsoka's second season, but this show, Maul Shadow Lord. Now, as soon as the first teaser for it dropped, I said in my breakdown that the visuals are super impressive, but these ones in the final trailer blew me away. In an age where there is so much hype and so much talk about AI, you can't beat good old-fashioned artistry. You can see the amount of hard work that went into this. I'm so excited, that's all I have to say. It's a mixture of the best of the Clone Wars Season 7 and the Bad Batch, but there are times where the colouring and the textures make the screen look like a canvas that's been painted on. And it's that very aesthetic that gives this show heart, soul, depth, but also grit, especially when Maul ignites his lightsaber. And I don't know if you caught this, but they're really drawing inspiration from some other Star Wars projects. As soon as I saw Maul on a rooftop, I was reminded of this Ahsoka moment from The Mandalorian Season 2 on Corvus. As I spoke about in my last video, Dave Filoni, just like George Lucas, loves visual poetry. This shot of the Star Destroyer over Janix screams Rogue One. The police department reminds me of Preox Morlana from the Andor show, and there is no denying there is some Phantom Menace thrown in there, which is pretty much a no-brainer. That's the first time Maul appeared in the first place, and so I think this is going to be a very poetic kind of series. And I know that Maul is the star of the show, but I think we're also going to get some really cool insights into the early Empire, different judiciary structures, the early stormtroopers, and how the earliest forms of Palpatine's regime come to fruition. The Bad Batch is another place they did some cool world building, but this show is a good excuse to expand that even more. I've seen a lot of fans say, well, what's the point? We already know where Maul ends up further down the timeline in Rebels, we know how he dies at the hands of Obi-Wan, we know he's going to meet Dryden Voss and Kira, so why do we need this middling chapter between the animated shows? Well, I suppose that's the big question. I've not seen the show yet, so I can't answer it. But according to Sam Witwer in a recent interview, he says, you don't bring the character back unless you have a very, very good reason. And you guys know my favourite theory. Maul is gonna fight Vader. Both characters have to survive, but this trailer in particular solidifies that's gonna be the case. The Empire is onto Maul. They send the Inquisitors, the Empire takes over Janix to make sure they capture Maul, and I reckon Palpatine wants his former apprentice dead. And when both Inquisitors fail the task, who do you think the Emperor's gonna send? And this trailer should reassure fans who are worried that Maul is gonna become a good guy. That is not the case. He's brutal, he's got his henchmen like this guy called Icarus, and he's forming a very unlikely allyship with a former Jedi, a survivor of Order 66, Devon Izara, who seems very uncertain about this partnership, and the old alien Jedi Master, who presumably also survived the Jedi Purge, warns her about what could happen. Maul is going to use Devon because they have a common enemy, but Maul can never be their ally. The Jedi knew all about him. They'd heard what happened to Qui-Gon, what happened after the crisis on Naboo, during the Clone Wars. They're not unfamiliar, and the Jedi Master is just trying to tell her that Maul is using her for his own purposes and is going to throw her away the minute she's no longer of value. And remember, Devon is not in Rebels, she's not around later in the timeline, so I suspect something bad is going to happen. She's not going to heed the Jedi Master's warning. And another reason I'm very excited and very encouraged by this trailer is the tone of it. The kind of character Devon is reminds me of one of my favourite Expanded Universe books, the first of the Coruscant Nights series, with Jedi Jax Pavan. The way he had to navigate the underworld of Coruscant kind of reminds me of what Devon has to do on Janix. Syndicates, droids with intel, different missions and survival. It's very Coruscant Nights coded. And this trailer really makes Devon a more interesting character than we thought. The assumption in the fandom has been that she's going to follow a very similar trajectory to Darth Talon, but more interesting than that is her philosophy and how I think it's going to change. I reckon she's going to be brainwashed by Maul, because she starts out skeptical, isn't sure of their allyship, doesn't really see the bigger picture, and she even says in this trailer, "We're not going to take out the whole Empire." And she's saying it as a response, presumably to Maul himself, and she says it almost in a mocking way. She doesn't believe the Emperor can be defeated, and so what I think Maul is going to promise Devon is a sense of purpose and a sense of importance. Something she was lacking, something the Jedi Order of old never gave her, and I assume she was never knighted. So she's in this position where she's seen everything she's ever known crumble right before her eyes. She's probably starving, full of pain, full of grief. She's on the run and doesn't have a stable place to live, and so along comes Maul, and he's promising her the world. He makes her believe, as Vader once tried to with Luke, that together they can rule the galaxy, overthrow the Emperor and his new toy, and get something which is heavily emphasized in this trailer: revenge. And as we learned from the Clone Wars Season 7, Maul is very dangerous. He knows more than most. Before being cut in half, he was in on the Sith plan, and he's one of the few that knows about Vader's true identity, so he can leverage his insider knowledge. And one prediction I have is that she's going to turn against her former master. I assume that's who this is. This alien Jedi eventually becomes her foe. And I have to tell you, I don't think it's going to end well for Devon either. If she does escape Maul's grip, it's not going to be because he let her go. It's going to be because she herself decided to run away. And sticking with this theme of Coruscant Knights, but also bringing in some aspects of recent canon, I wonder if they're going to connect Devon to the Hidden Path. It's featured in Kenobi, the Jedi games, Tales of the Underworld, the Jar Jar Binks comic, The Mandalorian's 3rd season with Grogu and Kelleran Beck. It's a major part of recent Disney Star Wars canon, where it concerns stories post-Order 66. And this series takes place just 1 year after the Great Jedi Purge, so we might get some surprises in this series with some familiar characters, some familiar name drops, but in this show, the one person that the Emperor wants dead is his former Sabrak Sith apprentice. And you know, maybe I'm getting a bit too carried away with Legends connections, but again, there's another huge way they could connect this to Coruscant Knights. Maul killed Jax Pavin's dad. Could you imagine if once upon a time when he was working with Palpatine, Maul killed someone that Devon knew, maybe a parent or a sibling, on one of his rampages? Could that lead to Devon trying to betray him? Something else I was really taken aback by is how skilled Devon is. She holds her own against Marok until Maul appears, and I wonder if this is how they meet. I wonder if this scene from the trailer is the first time she comes across him. Maul saves her life and uses that fact as leverage to try and partner with her. As Sam Witwer said, the reason Maul is trying to use the Jedi is because they both have a shared enemy, Darth Sidious. Not because he agrees with the Jedi or their philosophy, but he dislikes the Empire more than the Republic, which is a pretty massive ideological shift. But in a way, he's surprised by Palpatine, because the very Sith plan that Maul helped to build in the first place is not what he anticipated. It's not the way he imagined. As Witwer says, all of the magic in the galaxy has been sucked out of it. But even if it was what he expected, Maul is no longer a Sith. He's out for himself, for power in the underworld, and it all has to lead to him founding Crimson Dawn, and eventually Malachor and meeting Ezra. So how does Devon fit into all of these plans? Honestly, we don't know. That's the fun of having a new Star Wars show to watch. I'll be doing breakdowns of every episode. It's 2 a week from April 6th, and this looks absolutely amazing. Very impressed, and like I always say to you, you know, Lucasfilm animation never misses. It was also great to see Rook cast in action, and one character I think is also going to come back is Bo-Katan. Katie Sackhoff was recently asked when she's coming back. She's not going to be in The Mandalorian and Grogu, though she remains cryptic about that, but I think there's a good chance she did some vocal work for this show. And this period of time was spoken about in Rebels, where Bo-Katan recalled to Ezra that just after the Clone Wars ended, during the Imperial occupation of Mandalore, she was betrayed by the Saxon clan, and she refused to obey Palpatine. And it'll be interesting to see how she feeds into the Maul story, someone she vehemently hated. And remember, Maul has the Darksaber during this time.